All right, good afternoon, everybody. Todd Ferguson with Accelerators Organization coming to you with another mentor session. So if you guys have not met me or we haven't been introduced, my name's Todd. I live in Southwest Missouri in a town of about 2,000 people, one stoplight, 48 Baptist churches. That's what it feels like. But we have several million-dollar businesses, growing a couple others. So we are in the e-commerce space. We own a 3PL, which is a warehouse and logistics company as well. We also have commercial real estate, residential real estate, and then we're getting into multifamily. So we're going to use those experiences and the things that we've gone through to hopefully help experience share on some of these questions that you guys have submitted in the portal. And so I know I'm a little bit late, just a couple minutes, but to start this off, just want to encourage you guys. My daughter wanted to go to the pool with her friend. So she had a friend spend the night last night and they wanted to go to the pool, and the pool opens at noon. And so I was just able to take off, make sure all their stuff is gathered, and get them to the pool. And that's what I get to do. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I run my own ship. I don't report to anybody besides my wife. And I'm able to do the things that I want to do and that I need to do for my family. So as you are going on your entrepreneurial journey, the struggles, the setbacks, the highs, the lows, everything, just remember why you're doing it. And if you haven't identified your why, the reason why you are doing the thing that you're doing, I would encourage you guys to do that and to really narrow that down. And so for me, it's time freedom is the biggest thing. Yes, financial freedom is huge, but time freedom. So I get to do what I want, when I want, within reason, and even sometimes without reason. And that is what I want to do. I want to be able to allocate my time to where I see appropriate. And so that's why I'm building businesses, and that's why I'm doing all those things. I'm going to disconnect my Wi-Fi real quick. All right, hopefully I'm back. So we're going to get into some questions here. We've got 6 or 7 questions. As I answer these, if they don't make sense, if you guys need more clarification, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me through Facebook direct message. If we're not friends on Facebook, send me a friend request and we can get going that way. So the first question comes from Solon Gray, and his question is CRM software. And for those of you guys who don't know what CRM is, it's customer relations management. And basically it's how you track your customers or potential customers. But it says I own a custom apparel company, but we do much more than apparel. We do custom team uniforms, apparel, team stores, screen print, embroidery, transfers. We also do banners, pop-up tents, and more. Looking for a good CRM software, and if you feel it's worth it. So many out there and quite expensive, but they don't really pertain to my industry. Thanks. So the thing that we talk about, especially when you go to events or you're in other groups like AO Squared, it's like the next tier of AOs, and you get coached by Sean, is what CRM software is the best? Well, you could ask 100 people and you're going to get 100 different answers. But the best CRM software is the one that you will use and your team will use. And so yes, there are a ton of different softwares. They have a bunch of different functionalities. Some are very industry specific. But if you're not going to use it and it's not going to utilize it and you're not going to use it to move your business forward, then it's not worth it. And so that's what you've got to figure out. And so 2 things I would consider is, I don't know how big your customer base is. Now, you can do a lot with Google Sheets or Excel. That's not ideal, but as you're starting out, if you're trying to bootstrap and you are trying to keep your costs lower, there are a ton of different things you can do. And you're basically just tracking inside of a CRM is the customer journey and where they are in that. Have I contacted them? Have I followed up? Did they say yes? Whatever it is, whatever KPIs or metrics that you have, that's what you want to track inside that CRM. So you can do something very inexpensive with Excel. Airtable, I know is a little bit more, but you can do that. But then, I would find people that are very similar to what you do. People that are in the apparel industry or that do embroidery or screen print. If you guys don't know, Roy, who is in our group, who's a new mentor, runs the very similar business. I would reach out to him and ask him. I would reach out and say to other people that are in the same industry and just, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I'm looking for a CRM software. What do you guys use? What have you tried in the past? But the best software is the one that you're going to use and that's going to move the needle in the right direction. The thing that people get stuck on is they get stuck on analysis paralysis, and I'm sure you've heard that before, but you could spend days or even weeks analyzing every single software and doing spreadsheets and doing this and saying the pros and the cons and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, you still don't make a decision. And that's detrimental to your business. Is when you can make a decision faster, then do it that way. But reach out to those people. Roy would be a good first person. There's probably plenty of other people that you know. You can go to, when you go to trade shows, you can ask those type of people. But the one that you're going to use the most and the most efficiently is the one that's going to work best for you. So there's no right or wrong answer. You just got to make a decision. Next question comes from Nahed. I hope I'm saying that right. They want to know, should I show my business ventures on YouTube? So a business description says, I'm starting a dog walking business. It's my very first business venture, and I've already created business cards for it. Should I document everything on YouTube so I can start gaining some traction and eventually brand myself long-term? So you just have to remember there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much bandwidth mentally that we have. And is your time best used documenting your stuff on YouTube, or is it going out finding new clients, new customers, new ways to make money? You know, if you're brand new and this is your first business venture, you know, what low-hanging fruit can you do to make money right now? You can build a brand doing YouTube stuff. I think about this guy that I follow on YouTube called Nick Bear, and he has Bear Performance Nutrition. And I think he has like a $50 million business. He started it in his apartment when he was a Army Reserve, maybe. And he's built this massive following, but it's brand recognition. And that's how he's done it. But, you know, for everybody that does something similar to that, there are probably hundreds or maybe even thousands of people that spend time and energy trying to create a personal brand when they really should just be, in my opinion, creating a brand or a business for themselves. And so, yeah, you can do the YouTube and you can document your processes and you can document, you know, your trajectory, but ask yourself, how much time is that taking? Could I be allocating that time somewhere else to make money right now or to scale my brand? And is it really worth that mental energy? And so I don't know a ton about doing stuff on YouTube. You know, we post stuff on Facebook and do Facebook Lives every now and again. But, you know, just because you make a video to make it look professional, to make it look good and attract the audience that you want, then you really need to have editing skills. You need to have copywriting skills. You need to be able to speak to a camera, not say, not have those interjections that make people think that you don't know what you're talking about, and really have a presence. And that takes time. And so, yes, you can do that, but can you make money, and is your time better spent somewhere else? So you're just gonna have to ask yourself that question. All right, next question comes from Trevor. Trevor says, should you put your prices on your website? So business description says, I work with men over 40, helping them lose body fat without dieting or going to the gym or take advantage of taking dangerous drugs. I'm asking this question because I want to position my program properly without having price objections. Although I understand price is important, I don't want it to be an underlying factor that drives the decision of the buyer. I want individuals to understand the value, what we offer before asking for the price. I honestly get frustrated when somebody texts me, what is the cost? Shows they have no understanding of what we do, what the value is. On my website, I try to give as much value and explanation of our program as possible, so the price is the last concern, as they know we can deliver results and give them amazing value for the price they pay. It's a great question. So again, another one of those questions. That's why I love AO, is you can ask the same question and get, or you can ask the question and get, you know, 7 or 8 different viewpoints. And so for us, we don't have prices on our website for our 3PL, so logistics and warehousing. We are going to put prices on there. So there's a whole mentality behind knowing what the price is and still inquiring, and not knowing and being curious. And part of that, I really believe, if you talk, the things you talk about here is if you have really identified what your customer avatar is, or your ideal customer. So if your ideal customer, let's just say for instance, is a business owner that is over 40, that is married, that has disposable income, that wants to improve their health and fitness or lose body fat or whatever that is, and you identify that customer, generally price will be the last objection. You know, for me, like I have a running coach, I have a kettlebell coach for workouts, and I have business coaches and mentors. I know what I'm getting into. I know what those price points generally are, and I see the value. So there's very little closing or selling that has to be done besides just, what the program entails. But if price is an objection, then you possibly have the wrong customers. You possibly have people that don't identify with that value. And for you to try to explain and convince somebody of that value oftentimes won't work, in my opinion. And so I would just really encourage you to identify your ideal customer. There's also things that you can do with funnels and customer journey, and I'm not that person to talk to about, but I have seen things, you get them in at a lower introductory price, get a large community, and then you start upselling them. Once they see the value, once they see what you can provide with your free content or the stuff that you're doing, maybe it's $19 a month or $29 a month, and then you offer them a program, maybe it's $4.99 for 6 weeks or whatever it is. Then they see that value, they trust you, they built that relationship with you, and then they're gonna spend money. So whether or not you should put that price on your website, that's, in my opinion, I'm not sure. It just depends on if you've identified your customer, your ideal customer or the avatar, and then you can say, this is what we do. And so maybe you do an introductory price, and you have a Facebook group and you offer stuff, and you do a live, once a month or once a week or whatever, and people trust you and believe in you. Then you can get them on a Zoom, on a call, and then you can close them that way because they know what you can provide. All right, next question comes from Joe. Joe says, how do you make those tough long-term decisions today instead of focusing on the short term? So the business description says, I own Handyman Joe. I've fallen into, by my own actions, a cycle of making decisions for today and keep kicking the can down the road saying I'll deal with it later. I'm concerned the time is going to come sooner or later and I won't be ready, mostly around money things. How do you mentally get yourself to do the things that are right to do, but you fight it? Thanks. Well, I think as most entrepreneurs, we struggle with that. And that's called procrastination, is basically what it is. Putting off what you need to do. And so there's a lot of things that happen. If you've not seen the Eisenhower matrix, I would encourage you to look at that. I know I've talked about that before, but it talks about urgent and important, urgent, not important, important and not, or unimportant. There's 4 quadrants. You have to look at it. I can't think of it right now. But you can really start putting things in those buckets and seeing what needs to be done right now and what doesn't. But oftentimes we're procrastinating because it's uncomfortable to us to make that decision. We're unsure. We don't have the right support system. And so if you think about it, the longer you kick the can down the road, the longer you put things off, usually the more of a difficult decision you're snowballing. And so you talk about long decisions or long-term decisions, and instead of focusing on the short term, is if you work backwards and look at what your long-term decisions possibly can be, or the things then work backwards and start figuring out what short-term decisions you need to make to put you on the right path. You've probably heard the description that, if a plane takes off from Los Angeles to New York and they're off just a degree, they end up like, I don't know what the number is, 600 or 700 miles off target from 1 degree, just being off. And so it's the same thing as when you're making decisions. If you know that you're not making the right decision or focus on the right thing, then eventually you're creating struggles for yourself further in the future. And so that comes down to finding somebody that can hold you accountable. That comes down to you creating systems and processes in your business. And so for me, I use Motion, and I use a Google Calendar, and I make a list every day of things I need to get done. I plug that into Motion, and it's an AI software tool that puts all the tasks in your calendar that are not like reoccurring events or events that you put in your Google Calendar. And so I just knock it out, whether or not I like it. I don't have to make a decision. I don't have to think, I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to do this. It's on my Motion, on my calendar. I freaking do it. And so that has helped me become more efficient, procrastinate less. And then you figure out that sometimes those long-term decisions, you can make them in the short term. All right, next question comes from Steve. It says, how do you suck it up and close down a business if it's not working when you don't want to throw in the towel? How do you manage the emotions around starting new? Business description says, I've been a sales leader and a sales team manager for years, but I decided to start my own product companies, and they've not quite panned out for several reasons. Now I'm faced with shutting them down, starting new, or continuing, knowing it might not work out anyway. My question is, how do you manage those emotions, and how do you know what is the best decision to make for short and long term? So again, that's where something like AO comes into effect. When you have mentors, when you can have access to Sean and they can help you see the bigger picture, just because people have went through very similar situations or scenarios before and they have hindsight. Like you're trying to have foresight and look into the future and figure out what is best. But when you can get experience shares and when you can get people that have been through that and can offer you sound advice and say, this is what I did or what I've done, or this is what I would do different, then that to me is invaluable. The next thing I'm going to really tell you is I would never, and I've learned this the hard way, never trust your emotions. Your emotions will lead you astray more often than not. Now, there's a difference between emotions and intuition. Emotions are the highs and the lows, and I love this or I hate this. Intuition is that gut feeling that says, man, something's off. This is not right. And more times than not for me, when I've trusted or leaned into my emotions, I've made not the right choice or the wrong choice or a different choice than what I should have. When I've not listened to or listened to my intuition, I oftentimes make better choices. And so when you allow emotions to get the best of you, that's when you make wrong decisions. There's also something to be said to the actual facts. And so that's where having a mentor, a coach, somebody like that that can actually help you go through the facts of what you're seeing and what is reality and take out the emotion, that's when it is. If you know that a business is failing, the longer you try to make it work or push it off, generally the more money you're going to lose. You know, you can't, a sinking ship is a sinking ship. There's very few things you can do to keep the ship from sinking besides take all your crap off, salvage what you can, learn from that, and move on. And so, you know, there's things you can either sell the company, you can sell the idea, you can just close it down. And so as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur since 2012, where I was a true entrepreneur. I was selling stuff in 1999 on eBay, learning that as just out of high school. But I have started probably a dozen different businesses since 2012. And right now I have 4. So that means I've failed 8 times, if you want to look at it that way. I don't look at it as failing, I look at it as learning, and I look at it as experience, and I look at it as like just my journey and my road. And when I talk to people now, nobody remembers what I failed at besides myself. And so when you have too much pride in a project or too much pride to shut it down, that's just a long-term, in my opinion, a long-term recipe for failure. And so when you can get somebody that can give you sound advice and coach you, then that's the best thing in my opinion. All right, last question comes from Erica. Erica says, how do you continue with the little things in the beginning while you're working on that life-changing dream? Says, I own a business description. I own a junk removal business and do Uber and other side gigs to keep me moving in the direction of my dreams. I know I'm destined for greatness and love helping people, but with limited capital, it's so hard to make things a reality. How do you get through this stage? Well, Erica, I would also tell you and encourage you that most of us have went through that. Most of us went through a stage where we feel broke, we feel poor, we feel like we're not making ends meet, we feel like we're spinning our wheels. The worst thing, in my opinion, to do on something like that is to stop. When you give up and you stop, it's detrimental to your momentum. One of the biggest things I believe entrepreneurs underestimate is momentum, good or bad. So when you've got great momentum, a lot of people let up on the gas. And instead of keep going and pushing and continue that momentum and roll that snowball or just make that momentum greater, they think, I can kind of slow down. Same thing, when things are going downhill, we continually push that momentum the wrong way instead of knowing the direction we need to fix. And so if you've ever heard people say I'm in a rut, well, a rut is basically just a grave with the ends knocked out and you're not getting anywhere. And so there are ways to climb out of that. And, if you are low on capital, there's lots of ways to get capital if that's what you need. There are loans. I mean, I've never been adverse to putting like debt. I know there's other entrepreneurs that do things without debt. And so it's just figuring out your risk tolerance. Do you have a family? Do you not? What do you want to leverage? Do you want to do everything cash? And that's, when you have laid out a business plan. So if you have not laid out a business plan, I would encourage you to do that. When you lay out a business plan and you have a coach or a mentor or somebody that can help you process that and make benchmarks for that plan, Then when you can see oh, okay, I've just started. My next level is level A, and it's to save $10,000. Maybe that's what it is. So you're working to saving to $10,000. And then your next level is to save 25. And then your next level is to buy a piece of equipment for your business. And the next level is to do this. But if you don't have a business plan and you don't have a process and you don't have a thought on where you're actually going, you will continue to spin your wheels and it will feel frustrating. But if you truly believe in what you have and the passion that you have and you want to help people and you know that you are destined for greatness, then yes, you just got to keep fighting through it. When you go to events at AO, when you are hopping on the Zooms on Sunday morning, when you continually ask questions, you figure out that there's a lot of people that are going through the same thing that you're going through, right? There's people that have been through that and they can give you encouragement and they can help you out. And so when you're able to plug into an organization like AO and leverage that, then that'll help a bunch. But if you really believe that, then you need to have some benchmarks. You need to have some goals, some things that you're going to attain, whether it's, every 30 days, every 90 days, every 6 months, every 12 months, whatever that is. Then when you hit those goals, it's time to celebrate. It's time to say, hey, I did it, but you know what? There's another goal. There's a new level, and you keep going and you keep going. The one thing that Sean has taught me, and if you guys don't know, I've been in AO since 2020, I think. But Sean has coached me. He still coaches me. But he says there are levels to every game. And so once you think you've peaked or you've reached the top of that level, there's a different level. And there's always going to be challenges. And so as you grow, then you get to learn what you did right at the last level and you get to apply that for the next level. So guys, that's all we have. Hope this helped. Again, if you guys need anything else, have more questions, feel free to DM me, direct message me through Facebook. And yeah, hopefully this was good. And see you guys Sunday on the Zoom. And we'll talk to everybody later. Thanks. Bye.